Hey, I'm Scott,
And I'm Chris.
and this is Doxalogic, where we help you think with your Bible.
What does it look like to be a Proverbs 31 woman in a modern day setting?
Chris?
Oh my gosh.
Do we have to? Oh, that's great.
Oh, man.
Let's.
Wow.
I'm on my computer here, but I've opened up to Proverbs 31, Proverbs 31 starting in verse 10. I'm just not even respond to that.
It's okay, we will with laughter.
Yeah, you go right ahead. So Proverbs 31:10 starts with an excellent wife who can find. She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. And goes on from there. In just kind of responding to this, I imagine with more time to literally like study the passage, break down the passage, we could probably do a little more work in this. But I would just say recognize that so much of what the exalting of this godly wife in verses 10 and on is the character of this woman. And so nothing has changed in terms of what it looks like to be a godly woman who fears the Lord today, a godly wife who fears the Lord and blesses her husband. So much has not changed. Now, you start to look at specific examples. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ship. She is like the ships of the merchants and brings her food from afar. You get this sense that this woman is I'm going to say an industrious woman. And so whether that is working, particularly outside the home vocationally, I do think there is some room for that, for sure. And yet the orientation of her heart and her life's focus is in the home. It's home building, home making, home keeping, particularly as it comes to children as well. There's an industriousness to a godly, the Proverbs 31 wife that I think is that word, I hope, takes us into a more modern context. Maybe that's actually today saving quite a bit of money by maybe foregoing some things, by doing some things yourself, or maybe it is either a business or a matter of making money, in and through the home. So that's just a couple of things to modernize it without like, I don't have wool and flax. It's like, okay, let's not do that with the passage as much as just applaud what is applauded. So much of it is character, though, I would start off with.
Yeah, I was just looking at my notes, Chris, jotting some things over the years on this passage. And I thought it'd be interesting to kind of work through it and just go, you're looking for this, if you aspire to this, more along the character lines of things. So let's just work through this, and I'll kind of put a verse to the note that I have. So the first thing is, whatever she's doing is so valuable, it's more valuable than jewels, right? That's verse 10. Her husband trusts her, so she's trustworthy, right? That's a huge benefit. The treatment of her husband is good. She brings good and not harm, and that is consistent and enduring and long-term faithfulness, okay? That's verse 12. Verse 13, to your point, Chris, there's hard work involved, right? You want to be this woman? That's a component of it. She's a hard worker. Look at verse 14 and 15. Verse 16, she's wise and she's capable. Verse 18, she works to make extra out of the home, which, of course, different context, different economic system. They were able to work out of the home. That was normal. Verse 20, she cares for those in need of care. And of course, you could think about that starting with children, but there's an implication of a benevolence that comes out from her and eager to serve. Verse 21, she's prepared. She makes everything nicer and better, is what I said. Oh. And when you have that. Verse 23, again, she respects her husband. Verse 25, she's strong and has dignity. She's calm and she's trusting. Verse 26, she's wise in her teaching. Verse 27, she's a faithful homemaker. Verse 28, her children love her and her husband praise her. Verse 30, she's a woman who fears the Lord, praise this woman. And that's why when you go back to verse 10, she's of more value than jewels. This is an amazing woman. So just even taking those things, work on that stuff, right? And I think you'll start to embody the character of the Proverbs 31 woman. And of course, this isn't a by your own strength kind of thing. We don't do anything in our own strength. And if you think this is elusive, it's one step in front of the other. knowing that you're empowered by the Holy Spirit to walk in these things as part of the newness of life that Christ has purchased for you and then empowers in you.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Very good.
Thank you, guys. Proverbs 31. Would you say you could say Proverbs 31 wife instead of woman based on?
I mean, that's kind of the way I was, reading that in a sense. But, it doesn't mean, and again, if you're going to broadly, there's a lot of good things that you don't need to be a wife for to apply.
Right.
Right. So I'm not saying, well, you know what? If you're not a wife, then don't worry about being trustworthy. Don't worry about being calm. Don't fear the Lord.
You're off the hook.
Yeah.
Live that character and grow into it to attract the kind of man that ought to be attracted to the Proverbs 31
That is a
type
good
of
word.
woman.
Yeah.
And so a man aspiring to be a husband needs to be growing into character traits of his own. So does a woman not yet married but aspiring to be so. But focus on your character, and then you attract the type of person who wants to follow the Lord in these same ways with you. There are certain things that just are not going to quite yet be applicable, but Lord willing, one day they will be. And are you going to be prepared for that day?
Yep, that's good.
You've been listening to Doxalogic, a podcast by Doxa Church in Rockland, California. To learn more, visit us online at doxa.church.